Hello everybody, this is Matt. I'm doing a 7-year update on the QSB4.5 Ram 1500 swap. Just a kind of a backstory, I put it on the road in 2015 and drove it for work for over 100,000 miles. No real failures. The only major failure was I lost a tranny or torque converter. I quit driving it in early 2018 because I bought a different vehicle for work, and now that things have changed again, I have to resurrect the old girl and get her back road ready, because I will be using this for work again. So I'll go through some updates on how it did. This is my first YouTube video of me talking, so we'll see how well this goes, and kind of show you kind of the nuts and bolts of the swap, since it is now all tore apart. So here we go. So as you can see, engine is out, and a bunch of wiring. A lot of that wiring is going to get redone, because after I did the initial swap, a lot of stuff changed on how I use the wiring and what I did. What I really want to showcase, this is the Phoenix Castings flywheel adapter that I had custom made out of Phoenix Castings in Juanita, Nebraska. It's hooked to a 47 RE transmission, so I do run 2 flywheels. That is a factory flex plate, and then you can see the flywheel adapter bolts to that. Then that in turn will bolt to my manual flywheel, which is right here. And then there's my adapter plate to go from a SAE3 flywheel housing to the 47 RE. Again, Phoenix Castings, Juanita, Nebraska. So as you can see, I got a bunch of stuff tore out. There's the back part of the engine. All my other engine pieces kind of laid out on my shelf here, so it's just a matter of waiting on the block to get done. So the reason behind the fact that I had to rebuild the engine was when I first had the engine built, or I built the engine the first time personally, I had the engine honed because I just re-ringed it. And as you can see here, here's the pistons. And these pistons, ever since I put this in, I had high blow-by and was using oil. So this thing would use about a gallon of oil and 5,000 mile oil change. Well, all this carbon at the top of the piston, I'll turn around here so it's right side up. You can see all the carbon. It's built up. The actual second ring is stuck. So the root cause of this was the machine shop that did the hone before did a really crappy job, and the fact that it just never sealed. I mean, I tried breaking it with under load. I tried everything. It just never got to seal, and it just kept getting worse. So I just got tired of it, pulled the engine out, and found that, so hopefully we'll resolve that. I'm going to punch the engine over 0.5 millimeter and put it all back together, and let's hope for the best. Alright, let's go over some stuff I've been doing on the hood. A lot of the wiring's getting changed, like I said earlier. I did switch to Hydro Boost brakes. The vacuum, I tried to use an electric vacuum pump, it just wasn't working. But for HVAC, I do run the little Ford vacuum pumps here. I have 2 here. One's just for a backup in case the other one fails. So far in 100,000 miles, the first one has not failed yet, so that's good. Just kind of a run through of the whole engine compartment. One thing I did have to do, since I did make a custom oil pan, is this cross member here. I had to cut it and drop it down just over 1 inch to fit the oil pan. Other than that, I'm using factory Dodge mounts. I'm using actually 12 valve mounts right here for mounting the engine to the truck. Now, something I did notice, and so after I put the engine in, of course it's a 4-cylinder and it does shake, and I did have to idle the engine at 900 to get everything smoothed out in the cab so it was tolerable. Well, when I got these mounts, the original rubber snubbers right here and right here were gone, so I bought these polyurethane ones, and not knowing what I know now, what happened was those lock the engine mount together, so it becomes practically almost a solid mount. So for this next round, I'm using the same mounts, but I'm getting rid of the polyurethane, and I'm going to go with the factory rubber snubbers. I'll show you back here. Sorry I don't have everything in one area. I'm going to go back with these factory rubber end pieces and see how that does with my vibration and idle. I'm hoping to be able to drop the idle speed at least 800, because I am getting issues with getting issues with vibration and idle, and also driving through torque converter at 900 RPM. So when you put it in gear, you really have to have your foot on the brake, and it gets a little hard on the transmission, hard in the truck. So hopefully, with some softer mounts, I'll be able to idle down to about 800, and that's really where the factory 6-cylinder would run, and should be able to go into gear and not have put so much load on the engine and the truck. One thing I did upgrade from the very first videos that I started, I did go with an Anteater from Firepunk Diesel transmission controller. Reason behind it, it's fully tunable, and it makes it a lot easier because I was trying to use the factory PCM on the firewall, but since it was set up for a gas engine, it would downshift, but since the engine doesn't rev that high, it wouldn't stay in gear. So far, I've had this on. I put this on in 2017. I've had no issues with it. Transmission shifts fine. I did put this on after my transmission failure, and again, it was torque converter failure. It wasn't anything internal, so it was something. It still cost a rebuild, but it was still nothing to do with how the transmission was built the first time. So, I mean, just overall, I know, like I said, this is probably a pretty boring video, but it just kind of showcase, what I'm doing, and I'll try to do another video once I get the engine back in and kind of show some better stuff. Of course, I had to do the Dodge tune-up. I had to put all new ball joints, tie rod ends, power steering box, front axle shaft U-joints, all that fun stuff, and front axle shaft seals, which really do suck. But I had to do all that because they were wore out after 100,000 miles. So we'll see how this next set around goes. New shocks. Kind of show you, interior. She's still a pretty clean truck for an 01. But people ask about my gauge. That's a Beatty J1939 scan gauge, kind of what you call it. And I have it tied into the data link for the engine. So that's my check engine light. I can monitor all the engine parameters since they are separate from the truck. I mean, all my gauges do work, but they don't show. The check engine light obviously is no longer valid on the truck, but at least I have the gauge here that'll give me check engine light if I ever have a fault, and I can look at the engine parameters. A couple upgrades I did inside. I did a Delphi radio. And this is usually find these in semis. It has a really good Bluetooth, so I have Bluetooth, satellite, and it works really well. The two little silver switches, one's for high idle and one's for the engine, the cooling fans. I am running 4 Taurus fans on it. I've had pretty good luck with them, so I'm just gonna keep running them. Other than that, it's all factory inside, and I did put a new dash cover on since I didn't want the typical Dodge hole in the opening, So I did do that a couple years ago, and that turned out it's still holding up well since the truck has been outside since since I quit driving in 18. So if you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. Like I said, I'll try to do another video once I get the engine back in or putting the engine together and kind of showcase what I'm doing. Really nothing different with the engine. It's going to be the same factory build, nothing special. I'm not in it for performance. I'm not in it for speed. I'm just wanting reliability. So the only thing on the engine will be I'm going to try a different tune. Hopefully it's about 200 horse and 530 foot-pounds of torque out of a little 4-cylinder. I don't think that's too bad. And again, that's not really, it's a factory tune. It's not a turned up or anything like that. It's just a different calibration for the engine ECM. But all right, you have any questions, let me know.